Hi, my dear friends. Hope you all are doing great, and I wish you great success in all your endeavors. Friends, I know you all are striving and struggling and to realize your dream of getting a government job, be it civil services or state examinations like Group 1 or Group 2 examinations, and how much pain and struggle you are undergoing to get the job. I know. I can realize, I can empathize with your struggle. And I'm wishing you great success in all your endeavors, and your attempt should be very successful and you should realize your dreams. Friends, as part of this preparation of examination, history plays a crucial role in our competitive exams. And from my side, I'd like to prepare some videos and present, and if it is useful for you in your success, I realize that my attempt to help you out, to support your efforts, so that to realize your dreams of getting a government job is realized, and I'll be very much satisfied if you get a job. And this is from my side is a support system, support to you. Please do watch the videos regularly. I'll be posting videos on Indian history. Now we'll start with session. This session onwards, we'll start with the decline of Mughal Empire. Now, on the decline of Mughal Empire, before discussing the decline of Mughal Empire, very briefly we'll discuss about the Mughal dynasty, and then we'll gradually, this video will discuss what are the factors that led to the decline of the great Mughal Empire. Fine. Right. Now, we're going to discuss about the decline of Mughal Empire. Now, we all know that the founder of Mughal Empire was Babur. Babur was the founder of Mughal Empire, and we have given the great Mughals list, chronological list, and Babur founded the Mughal Empire in 1526 AD, and he ruled up to 1530 AD. And then after Babur, Humayun, his son, took the charge of empire, and he ruled from 1530 to 1556. In between, he lost the empire to Sur. Sur dynasty ruled for some time. This we will be discussing when we will discuss about medieval history in detail. So Humayun lost the empire for a few years, and he went into exile, and then again he regained the empire. Then after Humayun, Akbar ruled, and Akbar ruled from 1556 to 1605 AD. And of all the Mughal rulers, the greatest ruler is Akbar. We can say Akbar the Great. The reason is that because of his administrative policies, religious policies, and all his administrative expertise made him to strengthen and consolidate the Mughal Empire very powerfully. And we will be discussing about Akbar's administrative reforms, Mughal administration, and socio-economic conditions of Mughal period when we will discuss about medieval Indian history. Now, after Akbar, Jahangir ruled, and Jahangir ruled from 1605 to 1627 AD. And he is also considered as one of the greatest Mughal ruler. And after Jahangir, we have Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan ruled from 1628 to 1658 AD. And last among the great Mughals, Aurangzeb ruled. And during the time of Aurangzeb rule, at the time of his death, the Mughal Empire was so vast that it divided into 21 provinces. And Aurangzeb, instead of consolidating the empire, because of his dream of expanding the empire, he created more problems, and because of those problems, the empire began to decline. So we can consider of all the first six rulers of Mughal, if you take the first six rulers of Mughal dynasty, from Babur to Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb, we can consider these four rulers: Akbar, who ruled from 1556 to 1605, and Jahangir 1605 to 1627 AD, and Shah Jahan, who ruled from 1628 to 1658 AD, and lastly 1658 to 1707 AD. All these four are considered as great Mughal rulers. And these four great Mughal rulers ruled Mughal Empire for 151 years. 151 years. And from the time of Aurangzeb, the decline of Mughal Empire started. Now, Aurangzeb had three sons. And first one, Muazzam. And Muazzam was the Subedar of Kabul province. And Azam, second son, Subedar of Gujarat. And Kambaksh, Subedar of Bijapur. And after the death of Aurangzeb, there was a war of succession took place, and Muazzam defeated Azam as well as Kambaksh, and with the title of Bahadur Shah, he took the power. He became the emperor of Mughal dynasty, but Muazzam became the emperor of Mughal dynasty with the title of Bahadur Shah. And about the later Mughals, we will be discussing now. So we know the founder of Mughal Empire, Babur, and until Aurangzeb. Now we already know that the decline of Mughal Empire started with Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb's son Muazzam has took the power. He came to the throne with the title Bahadur Shah. Now we will see very briefly who were the later Mughal rulers in a chronological order. The later Mughals, Bahadur Shah, who is originally known as Muazzam, and he came to the throne he ruled from 1707 to 1712, and then Jahandar Shah took the rule. 1712, he ruled just for 1 year, 1712 to 1713, and then afterwards Farrukh Shah, he ruled from 1713 to 1719. Some very changes where disintegration of the empire took place. Most of the disintegration took place during the time of Farrukh Shah, which we will be discussing later. And then Muhammad Shah, he ruled for a long period, but much of the reputation of the Mughal Empire lost during the period of Muhammad Shah. He ruled from 1719 to 1748, and then Ahmed Shah, he ruled from 1748 to 1754. After Ahmed Shah, Alamgir ruled from 1754 to 1759. Then Shah Alam II, 1759 to 1806. We should remember, by this times 1806, Mughals lost complete control, and they came under the control of East India Company. And even here also we will find that previously, until from Babur to Aurangzeb, the power was exercised by the emperors. But he is the first, and Bahadur Shah Jafar is the first and last Mughal ruler who exercised power by himself. But from Jahandar Shah onwards, it is not the emperor, Jahandar Shah, Farrukh Shah onwards until the last ruler of Mughal Empire, Bahadur Shah Jafar II. The real power is not in the emperor, in the hands of the emperor, but in the hands of a few powerful nobles. We will be discussing about their power and how they controlled the Mughal rulers. And after Shah Alam II, 1759 to 1806, and Akbar II ruled 1806 to 1806 to 1837 AD. And last, Bahadur Shah Jafar II, he ruled from 1837 to 1857. So we know the revolt of 1857 started, and he too participated. But before he participated in the revolt of 1857, there was much hesitation in him. Finally, after a lot of deliberations, he took charge of, he participated in revolt of 1857. So, these are the later Mughals. Just once again for your briefing, I'll repeat that. Bahadur Shah I ruled from 1707 to 1712, and then Jahandar Shah ruled from 1712 to 1713, Farrukh Shah ruled from 1713 to 1719, and Muhammad Shah ruled from 1719 to 1748, and Ahmad Shah 1748 to 1754, Alamgir II from 1754 to 1759, Shah Alam II ruled from 1759 to 1806, and Akbar II ruled from 1806 to 1837 AD, and Bahadur Shah II, last Mughal ruler, ruled from 1837 to 1857. Now, very briefly, what happened, how the Mughal Empire began to decline and disintegrate during these later Mughals, we will discuss. Now, the first ruler among the later Mughals category, Bahadur Shah Jafar I. He ruled from 1707 to 1712. Now, as I said, that he is the first and last later Mughal ruler who tried to exercise his own power. And by the time he took charge of Mughal Empire, he was very old, 67 years old. And there is nothing much to do under his control. And he was the first and last Mughal ruler to exercise the real authority. And already I said 67 years old. And by that time, a lot of disintegration is taking place, and many regional rulers are emerging and began to claim their own independence from Mughal rulers. So he adopted a conciliatory approach. He tried to follow, rather than a confrontationist approach, he tried to follow and he tried to adopt a method, friendly method, so that you can avoid wars or any kind of a disturbances, so that he can rule smoothly the empire. So he adopted conciliatory approach to win the support of various sections of the nobles and aristocracy. So already the signs were coming up that the real power is slowly slipping from the hands of Mughal ruler to the hands of aristocrats and powerful aristocrats and nobles. So he understood that. So he wanted to avoid confrontation, and so he maintained a friendly relation as far as possible, smooth relations with the nobles and aristocrats. He tried to have good relations with Marathas and Rajputs. And he also released Sahu, son of Shambhaji, so that by the time Marathas were a very, very powerful force. They defied the authority of Mughals, and since the time of Shivaji onwards, we all know about that. And as time is passing, after the Aurangzeb, the Marathas began to gain more power. Year after year, they began to gain more power. So he understood, Bahadur Shah understood very clearly. So you want to avoid confrontation. He tried to adopt friendly approach towards Maratha. Hence, he released Sahu, son of Shambhaji. And he also acknowledged the independence of Mewar and Marwar of Rajputs, and he want to win the hearts of Hindus also. So he abolished the Jizya tax, which was imposed during the time of Aurangzeb. And Punjab, only Punjab he couldn't control. And Banda Bahadur was very, very against Mughal rule. And Bahadur Shah tried his level best to control Punjab, but he failed to control Punjab. And finally, financially he took many wrong steps. We can say that it's not wrong step, not so the methods what he adopted. He wanted to please, in order to please all the aristocrats, he began to lavishly give jagirs to many of the nobles. That became a big problem later on. Exhausted royal treasury and granted jagirs and gave promotions, even good for nothing nobles also he promoted, and he gave jagirs. So that began the financial destruction of the empire, the great Mughal empire. And finally, in the year 1712, he passed away, and after him, his son Jahandar Shah came to the rule. So now, after Bahadur Shah, we are going to discuss about his successor Jahandar Shah. There was a war of succession took place after Bahadur Shah's death. Who will take up the power? Who will take charge of the throne? So in the war of succession, Jahandar Shah's three brothers, Ajim Ushan, Rafi Ushan, and Jahan Shah, lost their lives. So by defeating and either imprisoning them or killing them, Jahandar Shah took the throne. But here, he couldn't do it alone. He don't have that much power. Jahandar Shah don't have that much power and capacity. or control over the ministers. He don't have popularity among the. He don't won the hearts of many nobles, aristocrats, but one. He was able to succeed the throne due to the efforts of Zulfikar Khan, son of Asad Khan. So Asad Khan was one of the prominent noble during the time of Aurangzeb too. He is one of the important member in the royal court. And Asad Khan's son Zulfikar Khan, because of his efforts, Zulfikar Khan's efforts, Jahandar Shah was able to get the power. He was able to sit on the throne. But here, the entire administration, the control of the administration went into the hands of Zulfikar Khan. So it's not Jahandar Shah. He's only just for namesake. He was a titular head of, we can say, head of the empire. We can say the real power was exercised by Zulfikar Khan, and in turn, Zulfikar Khan handed over the power to Subhag Chand, to one of his officer who worked under Subhag Chand is one of the officer who worked under Zulfikar Khan. These people has rotten the administrative. They became very corrupt, and all the followers of Zulfikar Khan and Subhag Chand, they became very, very corrupt. And not only this, the mistress of Jahandar Shah, Lal Kanwar, she and her relatives and her near and dear took up the important post, and they spent the treasure lavishly. So they lacked administrative skills, and because of this vast lavish expenditure and irrationally they are spending, all this made the administration of Mughal Empire a rotten one. So the disintegration took place rapidly. So it rapidly began to disintegrate, and many local, regional powers began to sprang up from this period onwards. And here we can see that a lot, and instead of Jahandar Shah, instead of focusing on the administration, he used to spend much of his time by giving the administrator into the charge of Zulfikar Khan. He used to spend lavishly luxurious item, attending the dance parties, like attending the feasts, and all this. This made him a weak and we can say unfit ruler. And then this was captured. And Farrukh Shah took up this state of affairs, and he declared himself as an emperor. And because his father was Ahmed Shah was killed by Jahandar Shah, and he declared himself, Farrukh Shah declared himself as an emperor, but he too couldn't declare by himself. From here onwards, we will find a new trend from which was not at all prevalent from Babur time to Aurangzeb. We will find that and from Babur time to Aurangzeb, the real power was exercised by the Mughal rulers directly. But from Bahadur Shah onwards and Jahandar Shah, we will find is clear distraction. Instead of the kings emperor exercising their power, the nobles had the real power. Here, Farrukh Shah also, who ruled from 1713 to 1719, he too captured the power with the help of Sayyid brothers, who is popularly known as Sayyid brothers, Sayyid Abdullah Khan as well as Sayyid Hussain Ali. And these two were the deputy governors of Bihar and Allahabad respectively. And it was with the help of Sayyid Hussain Ali and Sayyid Abdullah Khan, Farrukh Shah gathered army and attacked and defeated Jahandar Shah. And Jahandar Shah was imprisoned, and he was killed by the orders of Farrukh Shah. So we can see that the real power from the emperor's hand, it's gone to the hands of the nobles, most powerful nobles. And from here, Farrukh Shah period onwards, we will find that disintegration of the empire it began to take place rapidly. So here, Farrukh Shah defeated Jahandar Shah, and he was murdered by Zulfikar Khan, and by the orders given by Farrukh Shah. And in turn, we will find that Zulfikar Khan also murdered by the orders of Farrukh Shah. So all it was war going on. Who should lead? The power game was power politics were so intense that every group wanted to beat Iranis, Turanis, or Hindustanis. These were the three important groups in Mughal court. There was a lot of clashes going on to hold the power in Mughal court. And this has led to one of the main reasons for the decline of Mughals, we can say. Now, so we know Farooq Shah was deposed and he was brutally assassinated and brutally murdered. And Sayyid brothers, by the time who had complete control over Mughal politics, Mughal empire, brought Muhammad Shah to the throne. And Muhammad Shah ruled from 1719 to 1748. We may think he ruled for a long period, but the problem is that he was very young when he came to the throne. He was just 17 years old. And not only that, he don't have any qualities of a ruler, and he is a womanizer. He used to consume opium and all the qualities which a ruler, a genuine ruler, a efficient ruler shouldn't possess. Muhammad Shah possessed all these qualities. He never focused on the affairs of state. And the real power at that time was under the control of a few nobles in the court. So here we find that emergence of Chinkilich Khan, who is popularly known as Nizamul Mulk, Itimaduddaulah, Sadat Khan, and Queen Mother as the power center. Now the power was power center. These people became the power centers of Mughal court, and they wanted. They're trying eagerly for an opportunity, waiting for an opportunity to depose Sayyid brothers. And though the Sayyid brothers were killed in a span of 1 month, and then the real power came into the hands of these people. Now, after death of Sayyid brothers, after 1 year break, Chinkilich Khan became a wazir. There is a difference between wazir, the position of wazir when compared to the great Mughals. From Babur to Aurangzeb, wazir was a servant. I mean, the wazir used to give advices or express his opinion, and he followed the orders of the great Mughals. This is what the practice from Babur to Aurangzeb. But from Bahadur Shah time onwards, the position of emperor became weakened and the position of wazir became very, very powerful. And by this time, we'll find the complete control of administration was under the control of wazir. Now here, Chinkilich Khan, who is popularly known as Nizamul Mulk, tried his level best to bring the things in order. So that you want to revive the fame and administrative structure, and you want to introduce good administration in the Mughal court. But the court politics couldn't allow him to do what he wanted to do. As we already know that court was divided into Iranis, Turanis, Afghans and Hindustanis. These are the four most important groups in Mughal court. These four groups were vying with one another to have more control and more power. And they were all greedy to grab more jagirs and more facilities from the empire. This disunity, this lack of clashes among these four groups, Iranis, Turanis, Afghans as well as Hindustanis, made the empire very weakened. And most importantly, the loose character of emperor. That is what made the reputation of Mughal empire, Mughal emperor and Mughal empire, they lost their reputation. Common people began to hear make fun of him, what kind of an emperor he is. So where were the great Mughals and what was the fame, and see now what kind of loose character he has. So the reputation, fame of Mughal empire gradually began to decline very, very rapidly. And even Muhammad Shah was popularly known as Rangila because of his womanizing qualities, enjoying partying, and all this made him a man of loose character and unfit to be a good administrator. Here, Vexed with this court politics, and Chinkilich Khan focused because he was Subedar of Deccan provinces. So he shifted in 1721. He shifted to south, and in 1722 to 1948. So he established. Chinkilich Khan established a new kingdom, Nizam kingdom in south. But initially he expressed his loyalty to the Mughal rulers. Later rules ruled independently. So the Nizam dynasty, which ruled in South Deccan, it lasted from 1722 to 1948. Mir Kamruddin Chinkilich Khan is the first ruler, and Mir Usman Ali Khan was the last ruler of Nizams. Altogether, 7 Nizam rulers, Nizams ruled Deccan. Now, losing Chinkilich Khan is, we can say, greatest blow, because he's a great administrator, and losing him, a worthy person who is in a position to control the affairs, bring the things in order. Losing him is a big blow, we can say. And as a final blow to the glory of Mughal Empire, we can say Nadir Shah's invasion. So Nadir Shah invasion took place in 1738. This Persian ruler simply exposed to the world the weakness of Mughal dynasty, Mughal rule. And until that time, the world used to think, in spite of the rulers were weak, there was a glory among the world. The world used to look at the Mughal Empire with respect, inspiration, admiration. But Nadir Shah's invasion simply exposed the weakness of Mughal dynasty, and he stayed in after defeating miserably, in spite of their efforts to stop Nadir Shah from his invasion. He entered Delhi, and he stayed almost 2 months in Delhi, looted, and whatever things he could collect, extract, loot, he collected valuable things, and he went back. Now, this among the greatest things, we lost Kohinoor diamond, peacock throne, and most importantly, more than these two valuable things, most importantly, the reputation of Mughals were lost forever. And he has Nadir Shah exposed the weakness of Mughal Empire. This led to the many other invaders, later stage invaders like Ahmed Shah, who invaded from 1748 to 5 times. He invaded and exploited Mughal dynasty. So after Muhammad Shah, we have Ahmed Shah. He ruled from 1748 to 1754. But unfortunately, though he was 21 years old at the time of his coming to throne, and he was the only son of Muhammad Shah, born through a dancing girl. I already said that Muhammad Shah and other previous rulers were very much involved in partying and enjoying with women and all those things. So Ahmed Shah is the only son of Muhammad Shah, and he was born to a dancing girl. And his association, completely Ahmed Shah's association from childhood onwards, he lived mostly in harem. Unlike other princes who were given training in education, military or administrative system, he was not given, and he was illiterate, we can say. He don't have any education, and he never took any charge in the administrative setup, so no experience in any area of administration. You can imagine what kind of administration he can give, if you don't have no education, if you don't have any experience in any area of administration. Obviously he will be a puppet under the hands of the ministers. That is what happened. And here Queen Mother Udambai took the complete control, and all the petitions were read out to him, and she used to pass the order. And in turn, she too don't have any administrative experiences. She and her relatives took the important post, and they exploited the public wealth like anything. They enjoyed, and this has set the rot of the Mughal Empire. And he was deposed by Wazir Idizamuddaulah, and here both Ahmed Shah as well as Queen Mother Udambai were imprisoned by their own Wazir. Just you can imagine how weak they were. And the most important drastic thing is that financial bankruptcy of Mughal Empire. Once the Mughal Empire was admired by throughout the world for its power, expansion, administrative efficiency, and financial stability. Now, the financial condition was such that they couldn't pay even salaries to the standing army. The army, whatever they maintain, and in turn of salaries, they used to give small jackets, or sometimes they have to sell the important things from the royal court or harem, and they have to buy. They used to compensate for salaries. So that was the financial condition. Financial condition of Mughal Empire became very, very miserable condition, and they couldn't afford salaries also. So it is the end of Mughal dynasty is inevitable by this time. And here in this situation, we'll find Alamgir, because after he was deposed in the place of Ahmed Shah, Alamgir too came rule. And already, as I said, that financial condition of Mughal Empire was so pathetic that it was more intense. It became more deeper, and to run even a month or two salaries were also not available. So complete financial bankruptcy and the influence of Marathas. By this time, Marathas became so formidable power, and they began to dictate the terms in the Mughal court. That is one side. And Ahmad Shah Abdali's invasions took place, and a lot of territories where Mughal Empire lost many of its valuable territories. And Alamgir too was murdered by his own Wazir. And one of the most important thing which we will be discussing in detail, the impact of Battle of Plassey took place during the period of Alamgir II. And the Battle of Plassey took place in 1757, and with this the British established their domination in India. So they ruled India in the initial stages, as you already know, East India Company, on the name of East India Company. So East India Company established its power as an administrative setup with the Battle of Plassey, and we will be discussing that in the further classes. After Alamgir II, it was during the time of Shah Alam to complete the end took place. Now, Shah Alam II, when Alamgir II was deposed, he declared himself as emperor, but he was in exile. He was not in Delhi. So he's for more than 10 years, 12 years, almost 12 years, he's in exile. And it is Marathas, through Marathas' influence, he was installed as an emperor. And in his period, Battle of Buxar took place. And the most pathetic thing which any ruler, which cannot be expected, the Battle of Buxar took place during 1764, and Mughal emperor was took as a prisoner by East India Company. Now imagine, now onwards, 1806 onwards, Mughal emperors used to be emperors, just they were titular emperors. For namesake, they are emperors, but he was given a compensation of 26 lakhs rupees. But from this time onwards, they were mere pensioners of East India Company. Imagine where the great Babur, the courageous and adventurous Babur, who established Mughal dynasty in 1526, and from there how the Mughal Empire began to expand and became very dominant and prominent empire, one of the greatest empires of the world, has seen such a pathetic end. Now, so they were the prison, as I said, they were pensioners, and the last two Mughal rulers were pensioners. So both Akbar II, who ruled from 1806 to 1837, we may think he ruled for 31 years, but he's just a nominal ruler and under the control of Britishers, because Britishers captured Delhi in 1803. From that time onwards, Alamgir, he was pensioner of Britishers. So 1806 to 1837 he ruled, and last Mughal ruler, Bahadur Shah II, who ruled from 1837 to 1857. He too was a pensioner, and with the revolt of 1857 and the end of Mughal Empire also took place. And now we will discuss what are the causes that led to the downfall of the great Mughal Empire. And brief revision. The great Mughals, the founder of Mughal dynasty Babur, and then Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb. So Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb, these four are considered as great Mughals. After Aurangzeb, the later Mughals period will start, and under the later Mughals, Bahadur Shah Jafar, who ruled from 1707 to 1712, and then Jahangir Shah, who ruled from 1712 to 1713, and Farooq Shias from 1713 to 1719, and then Muhammad Shah from 1719 to 1748 he ruled. Ahmed Shah. It is during Muhammad Shah's period, the complete weakness of Mughal Empire was exposed to the world by the invasion of Nadir Shah, as we already discussed just now. And after Muhammad Shah, Ahmed Shah ruled from 1748 to 1754, and then Alamgir II, 1754 to 1757. Battle of Plassey took place during his period, Alamgir II period, and Shah Alam II, who ruled from 1759 to 1806, and Battle of Buxar took place during this period, and he was the emperor was taken as a prisoner. The Mughal Empire was taken as a prisoner from the time of Shah Alam II, and during the battle of after the battle of Buxar. And last two Mughal emperors, Akbar II, who ruled from 1806 and 1837, and Bahadur Shah II, who ruled from 1837 to 1857. These two were the pensioners of East India Company. Now we will look at the causes for the decline of the great Mughal dynasty. So we have seen how the great Mughals have lost their power and their reputation, and lost their value too. Now, if you look at the causes for the decline of the great Mughals, we can find these are the main causes of the decline of Mughal Empire, the great Mughal Empire. So here, under the causes for the decline of Mughal Empire, the first one can be considered as Aurangzeb's military expeditions, and second, Aurangzeb's religious policy, and third one, Deccan policy of Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb's fiscal policy, and then war of succession in the Mughal dynasty, Mughal army, and how the Mughal army also was one of the reasons we will find out very soon, and moral decay among the rulers as well as nobles. This is also one of the important reasons for the decline of the great Mughal dynasty, Mughal Empire. Mughal court politics, and we have centralized despotism based on military strength. This is one of the reasons, because as long as the central authority is very strong and foresighted, the military strength is under their control, they were able to administer very successfully. But the moment they lost the central power lost its command over the military in the vast regions, automatically they lost their grip on the empire. And financial and economic condition. Now, these are the causes for the decline of Mughal Empire. The first one, if you look at first one about the causes of decline, Aurangzeb's military expedition. Aurangzeb has in his almost 49 years of rule, almost 25 years he focused on Deccan, and a lot of military expenditures was incurred during period. And the army's expenditure was so vast that it couldn't sustain. And he, during his period himself, he realized that he has done a grave mistake by waging wars and undertaking long, drawn-out wars. And this he realized, and he also said, "I have neglected peasantry, and this is going to cause a severe blow." It's going to give a severe blow, and he requested his successor should focus on the welfare of peasantry also. But by that time was over, and a lot of military expeditions has caused much pain. Instead of gain, it went it gave pain to the Mughal Empire. And Aurangzeb's religious policy of Aurangzeb made many regional rulers like Marathas, Rajputs, and different areas of rulers of different areas until Akbar and Jahangir, they were close to Shah Jahan, they were close to Mughal Empire. They were working along with the Mughal Empire. But from the time of Aurangzeb, they began to look at him and his policies suspiciously, and they try to be independent from the clutches of, they want to gain independence from the control of Mughal. So Aurangzeb's religious policy is also considered as one of the main reasons for the decline of Mughal Empire. And then we have Deccan policy of Aurangzeb. As we said that much of his time he stayed in Deccan, and that has affected, it lost grip because he focused much of it, as he said, stayed in Deccan. In Delhi, north, they began to, many local rulers began to claim independence, and he lost grip over the court. And then we have War of Succession. From the time of, it was very successful during the time of great Mughals, and because the Mughal rulers during the great Mughals period, they were very powerful enough to control and curb whatever revolts raised during their time. But the later Mughals were so weak, and they were greedy to grab the power, but they don't have efficiency to control the things and curb the revolts which raised during their time. And this War of Succession is also one of the reasons for the decline of Mughal Empire. And then we have Mughal army. This Mughal army was so vast that it was heterogeneous in nature. Within the army, we will find Afghans, Iranis, Deccanis, and Rajputs, Marathas, like this, various people. And this lack of binding all these different heterogeneous group of warriors into one group. So this lack of bonding is also one of the reasons. So Mughal army is also one of the reasons. Heterogeneous nature of Mughal army is also one of the reasons for the decline of Mughal Empire. And then we have moral decay among the rulers and nobles. This is one of the most important thing I consider, because a ruler should stand as an icon of inspiration and a guiding post. So as a ruler, so the people will say that if the king himself is corrupt to the core, how come we expect the nobles will follow? Nobles will be pure, and they will be pure in character, and people will follow. So here, this is the main reason. This is one of the main reason I do consider that the moral decay among the Mughal rulers, especially later Mughals period, the moral decay, that is one of the main reason for the decline of Mughal dynasty, Mughal Empire. And Mughal court politics, as we already know that there were different groups like Iranis, Turanis, Afghans, and Hindustanis, which were vying, these groups were vying with one another to grab the control. And this court politics has made the great mighty Mughal Empire weaken. And centralized despotism based on military strength. This is possible, and we can control as long as the emperors are strong in character, strong in administration. If you take, even if you don't have knowledge, a ruler should have a diplomatic method to bring the best of the minds so that he can rule out. And we will find in Akbar the Great, we know Akbar the Great is an illiterate, yet he is considered as one of the greatest rulers of Mughal Empire. How it was possible? Because Akbar respected all the people, irrespective of their caste or region. He appreciated and encouraged talent, wherever, whatever religion they belong or whatever region they belong. So that encouragement, that bonding with other people, with encouraging the quality of encouraging the talent, made him to gain strength instead of losing strength. This quite opposite we'll find during the time of Aurangzeb. He lost all Aurangzeb, Bahadur Shah Jafar. So all these people lost valuable, dedicated nobles, talented nobles, and that is a big blow to Mughal dynasty. And Financial and economic condition. So the later stages of Mughal rulers, the financial condition was so miserable they couldn't pay salaries also. So such was a miserable condition which we cannot expect, which we cannot expect from the mighty Mughal dynasty. And all these causes led to the decline of the great Mughal rule. So in the next class, we will discuss the emergence of independent regional powers. So thank you for watching. This is Durga Yaragunta signing off.